Welcome to Mock Draft Monday. The 2024 NFL Draft is coming up fast, and that means it's time to project what will happen. 2 weeks ago, I made my second mock draft of the season, but now that the season's officially over, why not make another one? I'm Chase Keller, and welcome to post-Super Bowl 58 2024 NFL Mock Draft. Enjoy. In every mock up to this point, I've had the Bears trading down from first overall with the New England Patriots so they can ride with Justin Fields. After several reports saying they need a generational haul if they do trade down, I think it has become more clear that the Bears are looking to go elsewhere. For that reason, I have them selecting Caleb Williams at first overall and trading Justin Fields to the Vegas Raiders for pick 44 and a 2025 round 4 pick. This pick has grown more and more on me as Washington went through their offensive coordinator selection process. Hear me out. LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels to Washington. With new offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury in town, his offense relies around a lot of vertical shots and minimizes routes going up the seam. Daniels is the perfect fit for that. I have concerns surrounding if he will play well in the league because of his inability to read down the middle, but Kingsbury would be perfect for him. That leaves another QB needy team at number 3, and since I don't have them trading up to 1 for the first time in forever, they have many more opportunities to work with. They could go with Marvin Harrison Jr., which I have seen a lot of. But despite that, I still think quarterback is the way to go, especially after hearing the rumors that Mac Jones is likely on the trade market. Of the top 3 quarterbacks, Drake May is the only one that stands, so they go with him at number 3. That leaves a fairly obvious decision for Arizona at pick 4. No team is going to trade up with them for a quarterback given the top 3 guys are already gone. So there's really only one other player that is worth trading up this high for, and that player is going to head to Arizona given the positional need that they have. Give me Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals at pick 4. Then with the Chargers at 5, there are a wide amount of possibilities for them here. I've shockingly seen a lot of Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu mocks to LA, and while I don't think they need offensive tackle, taking a potential generational blocker isn't a terrible idea. Then I've seen wide receivers, which I have mocked several times. Malik Neighbors is a better receiver, but Rome Odunze might be the better fit. And then I've seen my pick, which I surprisingly have not mocked to the Chargers yet this season. It's the most common mock placement for LA this mock season, and that is Georgia tight end Brock Bowers. This leaves New York in a toss-up. They have 2 massive needs on this team, wide receiver and offensive tackle. That's excluding quarterback since Daniel Jones is trending upwards to return as New York's starter. At offensive tackle, they can go with Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu, but I'm unsure how confident I am in them switching over to right tackle. So that leaves us with receiver. And as I said before, the best receiver on the board is Malik Neighbors. That's the direction New York goes in. Then there's Tennessee, who absolutely needs to bolster up their offensive line. It's really down to Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu, and if you want to see scouting reports on them, check out my video on them in the card above after this video. Spoiler alert though, I do think Alt is the better offensive tackle, and that's who Tennessee goes with here for my second straight mock. Atlanta is stuck at this point. My first 2 mocks of the season they chose a quarterback. In my last one they traded up to get Jaden Daniels. With the top 3 off the board, the question is if they take one in the end. They are in the running for Justin Fields, but with how desperately they need the position and with Fields off to Vegas, they're going to stay here and take my next favorite quarterback on the board in Washington's Michael Penix Jr. With Chicago and their second pick, Rome Odunze is available here. Yet, if you have followed me, I do think that Chicago can build their receiving core in later rounds with how deep this receiver class is. It will be harder to find a great match with Montez Sweat outside of the first round, and that's why I've been stuck on the Bears taking Dallas Turner at pick 9 for months. The Jets at 10 will have a lot of options more than likely, but without a Brock Bowers fall this time, it's more narrow than normal. I have offensive tackle down as their biggest need, and while they can go with Rome Odunze here, it's not the pick that I would go with. for that reason, Penn State tackle Olu Fashanu wraps up the top 10 by going to the New York Jets. Now we have Minnesota at 11, and I don't think 5 quarterbacks go in the top 11 of this draft. For that reason, the Vikings shift gears and roll with corner. The corner I had going first off the board 2 weeks ago is Kool-Aid McKinstry, but his stock has gradually fallen outside of being cornerback 1. For that reason, multiple corners go off the board here, and I think Minnesota might actually take a chance on Kool-Aid's teammate who had a breakout season. Terrion Arnold is the pick here at 11. Then there's the Denver Broncos, and while I also had them taking quarterback in the last mock draft, I still don't think 5 signal callers can go off the board this early. So Denver slacks off and goes for another positional need. They are definitely going another direction at quarterback, and whether that be JJ McCarthy later on or a veteran pickup in free agency, they need to surround this new quarterback with another target. Especially with Rome Odunze still on the board, they take their chances with him at pick 12. Las Vegas took a quarterback in my first mock draft and a defensive tackle in my second. So let's switch it up yet again for the third draft of the season. They are also in the hunt for a cornerback and an offensive tackle, and at one of those positions there is someone whose stock is rising at great rates. Well, there is one player at both positions, but I don't think Quinyon Mitchell's stock is going this high. That reveals the offensive tackle route, and the player here is Talisa Fuaga out of Oregon State. New Orleans went with the offensive tackle route in my last draft, and there was a specific reason for it. They do have Trevor Penning and Ryan Ramczyk, but there's one specific player that can play both outside and inside and act as a swing lineman for this team. If Penning doesn't work out, move him to tackle. If he does, keep him inside. This player is J.C. Latham, who gets selected to New Orleans for the second straight mock. And at pick 15, I have another duplicate pick from my last mock draft. This one is an Indianapolis selection, and they could go the wide receiver route, especially if Pittman walks away. In that case, I think they go with Brian Thomas Jr., but they went with cornerback Nate Wiggins last time, and I'm going to stick with that selection in this mock. And then Seattle doesn't duplicate the pick, but they duplicate the position. In my last mock draft, I had the Seahawks taking Miami defensive tackle Leonard Taylor III, citing that, after reviewing mock drafts from other analysts, I'm thinking it might not be a reach to just take one here. It's definitely not a reach anymore if Illinois defensive lineman Jerzon Newton falls this far and Seattle snags him at pick 16. Are you shocked that I have not made a mock trade yet? I had 5 mock trades in my last mock, but I only have 2 in this one, primarily because of how simple the QB situation is. I'm actually going to take one of the mock trades from 2 weeks ago and apply it here, as Philadelphia trades up with Jacksonville to snag pick 17. In return, Jacksonville gets 22 and 137. With their 5 trade pickup, the Eagles decide to snag a premier cornerback with Darius Slay coming off a down year and James Bradbury not ending his season well. So with that being said, Cooper DeJean is the selection here at 17. Cincinnati took offensive tackle Talisa Fuaga in my last mock draft, and with him off the board along with J.C. Latham, it somehow actually makes this decision easier for Cincy. They don't have to choose between offensive tackles, and they still get their replacement for Jonah Williams on the right side. I'm talking about Georgia's Amarius Mims, who slides up to the Bengals at pick 18. The Rams don't have a hard selection to make at this pick. They need a lot of defensive starting talents, and that starts on the defensive line. Yes, they have Aaron Donald, but they also are struggling off the edge. Whichever edge rusher doesn't go top 10 is likely going to fall due to positional needs, and that puts LA in perfect position. They get UCLA's Laiatu Latu at 19th overall. Then with Pittsburgh at pick 20, I'm actually going to make a pretty funny selection. The first corner off the board last time was Kool-Aid McKinstry. This time it's Terrion Arnold, who originally went to Pittsburgh. In return, Pittsburgh's going to select McKinstry in this mock. But I didn't make this selection only to be funny. He's a nice compliment to Joey Porter Jr. because of his physicality and ability to make a huge impact in press coverage. So yeah, That's the actual reason for me selecting McKinstry for the Steelers at pick 20. I'm literally going to repeat my near exact words from my last mock video for Miami here. Miami is in a situation where they either trade down or reach, and I'm taking the reach part of it. They enter with minimal needs at almost every position except for linebacker, which is why I say it's a reach. Nobody really saw Jack Campbell going as high as he did, and I think the Dolphins could fill in that role this season. Texas A&M's Edgerrin Cooper is the pick here at 21st overall. Jacksonville traded down for the same reason as last time. They likely get a good defensive tackle, and the 2 remaining possible first-round selections probably won't go off with the 5 picks that they go down, and not one of them did. So for that reason, Jacksonville goes with Texas defensive lineman Byron Murphy II and receives a very good pass rusher from the inside. And then the next defensive tackle goes off at 23. This is the Texans' biggest need, but beforehand, the top 3 guys all went off before their pick and they went the receiver route. This time, they get lucky enough to snag one of them. Just like Jacksonville, they get a premier pass rusher from the inside and go with Miami's Leonard Taylor III at this selection. Dallas is in a trade down situation. I absolutely believe this. Instead of trading down with Kansas City like last time, I'm going to make things very, very interesting. Everyone, let's welcome the Minnesota Vikings back into the first round. They get pick 24. And in return, Dallas gets pick 42, 129, and a 2025 second rounder. This package may seem like a lot for the moment, but it's for good reason as Minnesota gets a huge future pick. That pretty much reveals their plans to select quarterback. But which one is it? Do you take the better game manager who's a better fit in JJ McCarthy? Or do you go with a more trait-proven signal caller in Bo Nix? If I'm Minnesota's GM, I'm going with option B. Bo Nix is the pick. We are in the final quarter of this draft. Up to Green Bay, they could really go with a lot of options here. Jackson Powers Johnson's stock is skyrocketing and they could go with him. They could be the first team to select the safety with either Cameron Kinchins or Tyler Nubin. But I think they could use a cornerback too after dealing Rasul Douglas to Buffalo at the 2023 trade deadline. That player is another player's stock who's skyrocketing, that being Toledo's Quinyon Mitchell. That fills a need for Green Bay at pick 25. Tampa Bay shocked a lot of people in the 2023 season, and as a result, they didn't get a crucial great draft pick, but they do get lucky in the end. These edge rushers are falling hard because of the positional needs, and with another minor need on the inside, I think you take the inside-outside versatile Jared Verse out of Florida State and decide where you want him when he arrives. Arizona is going to flip the direction I've had them going in the last mocks. Instead of trading down and taking wide receiver with the 27th overall pick, they ended up getting MHJ at 4 and can take a corner at 27 instead. Ideally, Quinyon Mitchell would be the selection here, but he went 2 picks ago. As a result, they settle for Mizzou's Ennis Rakestraw Jr. at 27th overall. Buffalo comes up at 28, and I would love for them to get a cornerback. At this point, though, there aren't any that are really worth grabbing at 28. You could go with TJ Tampa or Kamari Lassiter, but why go with them if you can get LSU wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr.? Somehow in this stacked wide receiver class, the number 4 projected receiver falls all the way down here, and Buffalo gets a new, reliable outside receiver. Detroit at pick 29 is an intriguing selection here. They had a very nice year, but they could still use some starting talents on the defensive side of the ball. Aaron Glenn is returning to Detroit in 2024, and his defense could really use some support if he wants to continue making a head coaching campaign. They went with edge rusher Chris Braswell last time, and this time, they go with edge rusher Braylon Trice at 29. Then Baltimore comes up at pick 30. As this draft has panned out, receivers have surprisingly fallen, which gives Baltimore a massive opportunity to take their biggest need. Rashad Bateman isn't developing as the franchise had hoped, so in present time, they need a new outside receiver to line up across Odell, assuming he signs back with the franchise. That receiver is Oregon's Troy Franklin, who falls to the 30th overall pick. Moving on to the Super Bowl losers, the 2023 NFL season runner-ups. San Francisco, in my opinion, has one major task in this draft, and that's to build the offensive line under all means necessary. They got Olu Fashanu in a trade-up in my last mock, but with no trade-up, they'll likely go interior O-line in this situation. For that reason, they get Oregon center Jackson Powers-Johnson with the 31st overall pick. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs for winning the Super Bowl for the second straight year. In my last mock draft, I had the Kansas City Chiefs trading up with Dallas to get Florida State's Keon Coleman. In this mock draft, Coleman falls all the way to them at 32 anyways. I don't really have much else to say. Coleman fills the Chiefs' biggest needs with the last pick of the 2024 NFL Draft. Which picks did you like the most? Which picks shocked you here? Let me know in the comments section below. Wait, are you not subscribed yet? Well, do it now. I release content like this all the time and would really appreciate your support. I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and I will see you all next time.